Hi, Matt with eTrailer, and today we're talking about the Thule Roof Rack on top of our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now this is going to be a great option for you if you're running out of space in the back of your vehicle and you need to store any of those additional items somewhere else. Because maybe you got a lot of people with you or you're already storing a lot of your other luggage back here. Putting it on top of your roof is going to be a great option, especially if you do have a roof box. So let's check it out. The reason why I say this is great for more items like roof boxes is because we don't have a lot of real estate on our crossbars, and that's because these are flush mounted crossbars. And what that means is we don't have any overhang, it just ends at the tower. So which is nice if you want that more clean design to your crossbars, but if you want anything to put up here like a kayak or skis, that's going to be a lot more difficult because you're going to have to reach over here a lot more. So that's why roof boxes or baskets are going to be more ideal for this. But if you do have a kayak you want to throw up here, you don't want to reach all the way across, or it's not going to be compatible with this roof rack, Thule does have another option that does have overhang. So you'll be able to choose whichever one's going to be better for you. But for now, we're going to talk about the one we have up here. And it's going to have three components to it. We're going to have the crossbar itself, we're going to have the tower, and the fit kit at the bottom. So taking a closer look at the crossbar, this is going to be 34 inches long. So that's going to be the amount of space you're going to be playing with up here. And we're going to have this arrow design to it. The arrow design is going to help reduce wind noise. So when you're driving down that road, you don't have to deal with that whistling. Another thing that's also going to help reduce wind noise is this rubber strip at the top, and that weather strip is going to keep a lot of debris out as well. What that's protecting is this T-channel. Your T-channel is used for your more T-channel accessories. So if you ever came across a situation where you didn't want to use a clamp-on accessory for whatever reason, then you could stick with using the T-channel. And also with T-channels, accessories, you can get them a lot closer to the towers. Then we're going to have the tower. The tower is going to hide a lot of that hardware that's underneath here and going to give it more of a clean finish overall. I'm a big fan of this design because it is more squared off, which matches our Jeep design. It's going to have this plastic lock core at the very end of it. And what that plastic lock core is doing is just preventing anyone from walking by and opening this up. Now, if you do have a flathead screwdriver, you can open that up real quick and easy, but you can get this replaced with some metal lock cores for additional security. And at the bottom, we're going to have our fit kit. Your fit kit is what connects your roof rack to your vehicle on your flush rails. The way this is going to be bolted in is just 2 bolts on the side, so that's going to make this a fixed mounting system. What is a fixed mounting system? It is something that only stores at one location on your roof, so you won't be able to play around with your crossbar spreads. I talked a little bit about that tower, but let's take a look at what's underneath that end cap. So now that I've unlocked it, I can remove it just by pulling it off. And you can see this is the main reason why we want to hide all of this, because a lot of this out in the open is going to give it that clean finish, but it also prevents anyone from unloosening any of these screws up. Now, at the top, you'll notice we have these notches. What those notches are, it's designed to help make sure everything is even up here. But really, when we were installing this, we didn't have to worry about that too much. So that really does speak volumes about how easy this installation is. Now, something I'm not a big fan of, though, is when you do remove this, you do have to have a tool to remove this clamp, and it can take a little bit. And when you do have it removed, it's just going to leave this block on top, or this bracket on top of your roof, which isn't going to be a super clean finish. If you're looking for something that's going to have a cleaner finish, or if you plan on taking your roof rack on and off a lot, I'd recommend one of the Yakima systems. They have the option to remove the crossbars, and those landing pads that they sit on have these caps that go on top of it, providing that more clean finish. We can talk about how this is going to sit on top of our roof now. So the first measurement I'm going to get is going to be the distance underneath our crossbars. which is going to be a little bit under 4 inches, which is actually pretty good. That's plenty of room to put any clamp-on accessories on here. So if you have any of those, definitely use them. And for the overall height, we're going to have about 5 inches, which is a decent amount. It sticks up, but like I said, that's going to give you plenty more room underneath the crossbars to put on those clamp-on accessories. What I also recommend doing is taking the total height of your vehicle plus your crossbars, and then if you have any gear on top of that, include that measurement too, so you know what areas you can make it under, like your garage. Now I know earlier I talked about how this is a fixed mounting system. Let's see what that crossbar spread is. So this is something that's not going to be able to move. So this is going to be about 25 inches right here. So this is more ideal for those smaller items like those roof boxes or baskets. As far as installation goes, it is fairly straightforward. I didn't really struggle with it too much. Now it can be a little bit intimidating when you first get all the parts laid out in front of you because there is a lot of hardware and a lot of clamps. But if you just kind of bear with it, Thule does do a pretty good job at explaining how everything works. But if you still need a hand with it, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, we're going to lay everything out. So closest to me, we're going to have the crossbar itself. Up front, we're going to have our towers and the hardware that comes along with them. That's going to include these bolts and these clamps and your fit kit as well. You're going to have some included tools you'll be able to use. The tools I recommend grabbing are going to be either a flathead screwdriver or a trim tool, and you'll see why later on in the installation. Our first step is going to be grabbing this bracket. This is going to be your fit kit, and we're going to grab these 2 bolts too. And this is just going to be installing this bracket onto your flush rails. You'll notice we already have our front crossbar on there. It's going to be the same process for either one of them though. I also recommend grabbing the trim tool because we're going to need that for this next step. With a trim tool in hand, we're going to come over to those fasteners on our flush rails. You have 2 sets. We're going to go with the ones closest to our front crossbars. They're pretty easy to get out. If you have that trim tool, just stick it underneath there and apply pressure and it'll pop right out. If you don't have a trim tool at home, you can use a flathead screwdriver for this. And grab a bracket, and the way we want to position this is with this overhang over our flush rails. It's going to sit just like this, and we're going to line it up with those holes we just revealed from removing those fasteners, and just hand thread those 2 bolts in to begin with. Once they're both pretty hand tight, I can come over and grab one of our included Allen keys. This is going to be the one with the star pattern on it. And this is going to be the security Allen key. You're going to tighten that down the rest of the way until it feels pretty snug. And once this bracket is fully tightened down, you can repeat that process on the other side. The reason why we're choosing this point right here to attach our crossbars to is because we don't have a lot of crossbar that really work with, so we're going to have less of a crossbar spread, and that's probably because we're going to be using items more like roof boxes up here. Now if I was hauling something a little bit longer like a kayak, I'd probably opt to go with these points right here that are further away, which is going to give us a longer crossbar spread. We'll come back down here and we're going to attach our towers to our crossbar. And to do that, I like to remove this end cap first. Make sure it's in the unlocked position. And we're going to come over here with the tower and try to put it in place. But you'll notice when I do this, it won't seat in. And what's happening is you'll see we have this block right here. That needs to catch on the inside of this tower. So if I pull up this weather strip, you'll see what I'm talking about. with that pulled up, you see this square opening. That's where we want that to line up with. So if this is still kind of hard to push down because it needs to get under this lip at the front. And if it won't push down enough, what you can do, set this back down, grab, you include an Allen key, the one with the torque device on it, and we're going to loosen this up some. Loosening this bolt will push it out a little bit further and should help relieve some tension back here so you can apply more pressure. We're going to come back over here, apply that pressure now, so it gets right underneath there. Sometimes you might have to put a fair bit of pressure on it, but it should eventually catch on. And as you push this in, it should meet that opening right there. You hear a click, and you can pull back. You notice it won't come out. After when you have this installed, you're going to repeat that process on the other side. And now we're going to start putting together the clamp assembly. And each one of these will have a letter that it's marked with. So this clamp here is going to be marked A. This rubber attachment is going to be marked B. And this secondary clamp is going to be marked C. And that's going to be the order that you attach them to your tower to. So I'm going to grab A, come over to the back of the tower, and we're going to line this up into place with these front top tabs going over the top part of this tower, and you're going to have this opening where this bolt runs through. After when that's gone through, I recommend just flipping this over real quick, holding that clamp into place so it doesn't fall off. And we'll see a few more openings at the bottom. If you notice, those openings look similar to these tabs or nibs sticking up. You're just going to line each one of those into place and apply pressure until it grabs on. A lot of times this metal hook on the back of here will get in the way, so just make sure you push it around and it should seat in place. And then finally, we're going to grab clamp C, make sure it grabs around the top of A. And once it does, you apply pressure, and that bolt should run through C as well. This is when you grab some additional hardware. It's going to be this section, and you'll notice it has a threaded side. You want to put that threaded side on that bolt, and this will help keep everything into place. And all you need to do is just hand tighten this a little bit. You don't have to go too tight, just enough so nothing falls off. And when you have both sides prepped, we can start putting this on top of our roof. When you're placing this up there, you want to make sure that the thicker side is facing forward and this thinner side is facing behind us. Once you've done that, we're just going to line it up with the fit kit we already have installed on our rails and just roughly place it up here. It might be a little bit too long or a little bit too short to begin with, but we'll be able to adjust so it can fit. It helps to get one side into place when you do this, but when you are doing this, you want to make sure that this clamp is grabbing around the metal bracket of your fit kit. Right now, mine's not quite getting there, so I gotta loosen this up a bit so that clamp can extend a bit more. And as you can see, it's dropping into place. I'm putting my hand back here to make sure it's going through this opening on the back side. And once it is, and it's wrapped around the front side too, I can tighten this back up. And once it's hand tight, you can grab your included Allen key, the one with the torque device on it. And we can tighten this up the rest of the way until it clicks. And we want to make sure that the crossbar is even on both sides. So how you do that is just grab onto your tower and either pull or push on it. I'm just going to pull mine just a tad bit. I find it a little bit easier to pull because whenever I've tried pushing it, it doesn't really move a whole lot. But when you have this where you want it to be, you can grab that included Allen key again, tighten that bolt right here, and this will tighten down where your crossbar sits on your tower. Again, you'll want to keep tightening this down until this starts to click in place. Just like that. With everything tightened down, I'm going to grab that end cap, make sure I push it on both sides. Once you're kind of grabbing on there, lock it back into place. And from here, I can give it a good shake test. What I'm looking for is if there's any movement or a little bit more wiggle than I want. But this is feeling pretty sturdy. I'm feeling pretty confident about putting things up there. And then I can load it up with whatever gear I have. And then you can hit the road. And that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Thule Roof Rack on top of our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Thanks for watching.